Yo, I'm Bob, totally blind since birth into Star Wars, talking about Season 3, Episode 7 of The Mandalorian on Disney+. Plus. Spoilers ahead, watch it before listening to my thoughts. Jumping right in, you were warned, 23rd chapter of the show overall. This one's called The Spies. And right away, we get to see Katee O'Brien, who plays Kane, and she is reporting to Moff Gideon, played by Giancarlo Esposito. I'm so glad to see this character in season 3. They waited till the last two episodes to bring him in. And since Gideon thinks he's the best, I guess he would say they've saved the best for last. I like how he receives the news that the pirates got their butts handed to them on Navarro by the Mandos there. And he's got to go meet with the Shadow Council. He's going to make some special requests. He wants bombers and interceptors. He wants 3 Praetorian guards. So on the way to the Shadow Council meeting, we get to see those cylindrical tanks filled with liquid. Surely they're clones. Someone named Shirley, I guess. Sorry about the pun. So yeah, he gets to the Shadow Council meeting, and I can't think of the Shadow Council without thinking of Operation Shadow Hand from the Dark Empire audio comic adaptations. Those are what I had in the 90s when it comes to Star Wars entertainment. And Operation Shadowhand was a pretty big deal, in which a clone Palpatine was wreaking havoc. And, he bided his time, and he unleashed world devastators and things like that. So, that's where my mind immediately went. Even though we did see the Shadow Council in canon in the Aftermath books. So I wonder who's all on the Shadow Council. We know Brendol Hux is. He's the father of Armitage Hux. And it's cool that Brendol is played by Brian Gleeson, the brother of Dom Gleeson, who plays Armitage Hux in the sequel trilogy. So that's kind of cool. So I wonder who the rest of the warlords are. We'll get to the Bantha in the room in just a minute here. But yeah, I wonder who the other warlords are. I'm thinking of Pterodok from the Dark Saber novel, as well as Warlord Harsk. I know Admiral Dala wasn't part of the council, the ruling council in the expanded universe books, but I'm wondering if that woman might be either Dala or Ishard. Probably Ray Sloan, who we met in the Aftermath books and canon. Who knows, though? So when Gideon says the name Captain Pelion, the 13-year-old kid who started listening to the abridged versions of the Thrawn trilogy narrated by Dennis Lawson and Anthony Daniels in 1997, well, he started doing backflips because Pelion is one of my all-time favorite expanded universe characters. He was, of course, Thrawn's right-hand man. He later signs a peace treaty with the New Republic. And he's actually a pretty big ally of Han and Luke and Leia, all of our heroes during the Yuuzhan Vong War in the New Jedi Order novel series. He's a really awesome character, and I hope that Pelion doesn't just blindly follow orders here. I kind of hope he outlasts Thrawn in canon, but who knows what they're going to do with Galad Pelion here. I love seeing him in live action, portrayed by Xander Berkeley. Xander, I first heard him doing the voice of Cold Steel in Disney's Gargoyles. He also did the voice of Mysterio in Spectacular Spider-Man, that animated series. So I would imagine he does a pretty good job of portraying Galad visually. I love how Gideon is scoffing at the long-awaited return of Grand Admiral Thrawn here. He's got his eyes on the seat of power. You can tell things are percolating in that head of his. So I'm wondering if Thrawn is eventually going to have to take him out. I hope Gideon lasts through season 3. It's just a day after the penultimate episode has aired, so who knows what's going to happen to him. I hope he lasts until Dave's big movie that he's getting to direct, where all the events of The Mandalorian and the other shows culminate into the movie. I don't know, though. Who knows what they're going to do. But I loved hearing about Project Necromancer, which we all, well, pretty much know what that is. I would imagine it's got to do with our clone emperor here. So a lot of really cool Dark Empire references going on. with this scene. I have seen the Shadow Council scene about 11 or so times now. It's one of my favorites. I think it ties with the fight scene at the end of the episode. I love that whole scene with the warlords talking, and they are feigning disorganization, whereas in actuality they got their bantha poodoo together and they're just biding their time, appearing to be weaker than they actually are. And we've got the Mandos coming back to Navarro there. And it's a really interesting scene where you've got Din and Bo and Grogu. They got all the Mandos coming back. They meet with the covert. They decide to go on that scouting mission to Mandalore there. But I love that one scene in Karga's office where he delivers IG-12, as we should now call him, to Din and Grogu. And Grogu's just walking around the office. He's pressing that speech button over and over. He is every kid who's ever enjoyed playing the heck out of battery-operated toys that make noise. And I was one of those kids, let me tell you. He's just constantly pressing that button, expressing how happy he is. He's still doing it when he and Din are walking the streets of Navarro there. And, eventually we do get that scouting mission to Mandalore. And I love the scene with the Night Owls when they show up on the boat there, or the ship. It was a really cool scene. And we eventually get to hear how Bo-Katan lost the Darksaber to Gideon. And she didn't lose it. She had to surrender it. She thought she was doing the best thing she could for her people. And Gideon, of course, betrayed her and annihilated so many of them. I love Katee Sackhoff as an actress here. And she just... she really delivers an amazing performance, as she does in every episode, as well as all the other actors and actresses. And then you've got that speech that Din makes when he's talking about how the Darksaber means nothing to him. The weapon means nothing to him, and neither does station or bloodline. He says what he thinks about our honor and loyalty and character. And that's why he's going to be serving Bo-Katan. He really thinks a lot of her. And that does make a lot of sense to me. Din he's gun for hire. He's a kind of knight. He's samurai, all rolled into one. He's a fantastic dad. And he's got no problems serving Bo-Katan, getting his hands dirty, doing what needs to get done. If she's got to stay on Mandalore and do her thing, although I want to see her kick butt beyond season 3 as well. Who knows what they're going to do? But I love that speech there that Din makes. And then we get to see that really interesting scene where Axe and Paz are playing that stupid game, and a kid, he's got to be more mature than they are and break them up with the IG mech. And he's still playing that speech button. And Din has to tell Bo, oh, well, he didn't learn this stuff from me. And so we get a little Luke Skywalker reference there. The fight scene at the end of this episode is one of my favorites from The Mandalorian. When we get down to the Great Forge, this is just a scouting mission, and they're trying to find the Great Forge, and then they do. And it turns out, of course, that Gideon has been using Mandalore as a base of operations the whole freaking time. I love that. He has been at the heart of Mandalore all this time, mining the Beskar. When we get to see those Beskar armored Imperial commandos flying in, I immediately wanted those action figures. You cannot show me a new episode of The Mandalorian with audio description and not get me to want the action figures, the 3 3/4 inch action figures in the vintage collection. I really would love those Imperial commandos and Beskar armor. Yes, please. It is an awesome fight scene, especially when the Mandos are all baited into the hangar bay there. We see all the fighters, and then when you've got Gideon coming in his dark trooper suit, as he calls it, he's got that spiky helmet on, and leave it to Gideon to have a cape on the armor as well, and little bits of burgundy thrown in. I mean, this is an awesome suit, and I want this action figure like yesterday. What a cool design. I wonder what the weapon systems are like. We haven't seen him fight in this yet. I guess we will next week. I'm filming this the day after the penultimate episode is aired. We got Din. He's captured by Gideon. And, oh man, that bit where Paz stays behind so the others can escape. Axe has got to find his way to the fleet and warn them that the bombers and interceptors are on the way, because there are no communications from surface to space there, so he's got to go get to them, and Bo-Katan's trying to get out of there, and Paz is just taking down commando after commando after commando. That is a heartbreaking scene. I love this character, and I wasn't sure what they were going to do with him, where his loyalties lie, but in the words of a certain Maximal from Beast Wars, it's nice to know where he stands. I'm paraphrasing Rat Trap, but yeah, pretty much what he said. So yeah, when the Praetorian guards come out of the smoke there, and they go to town on him. One's got the chain whip, one's got the Bacento, and one's got the arbor blades. And Paz does his best, but he just goes down. It is one of the coolest scenes in The Mandalorian. It's how a Mandalorian should go out in the heat of battle, giving his all for his people, and that's exactly what this guy does. And the episode ends on that, just Paz laying in the midst of all the commandos that he's downed. And I don't know what to expect next week. I hope to see a little Grand Admiral Thrawn post-credit scene leading into the Ahsoka show. I hope Gideon survives. I want to see him do some more Imperial stuff post-Mandalorian Season 3. I kind of want to see Thrawn take him out eventually. I don't know. I hope Giancarlo Esposito gets to play in the Star Wars galaxy for quite a while, but I don't know, man. It might be time for him to check out, for Gideon to check out. Who knows? It was just a fantastic episode. I love the Shadow Council bit. Definitely made me think of the EU. I loved all the stuff with the Grogu mech, or the IG mech, and Grogu in the mech rather. And the fight scene at the end was just phenomenal. I wish I'd gotten to see this during Star Wars Celebration along with the folks who were able to go. But I don't know if I would have been able to have audio description with that episode. So, I mean, just a fantastic episode, though. I guess next time we're going to be talking about the finale. I don't know what the title is because it hasn't aired yet. But, yeah, may the Force be with you. Yes.